These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Kirk Cousins might be the best 1 p.m. witching hour quarterback of all time. He dominates the 1 p.m. slate. He really does.
That's true. It's what we get next week.
Yeah.
Vikings Bills.
Oh, wow.
Everybody believing in Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Everyone doubting Josh Allen and the Bills. I'm sure this.
What time's that game at?
1 p.m. at Hard Mark Stadium.
Put the kids to bed.
Why would
For
you
a
put
nap.
them to bed at 1 o'clock?
You think Josh Allen looked at the schedule and said, damn it, Kirk Cousins, 1 o'clock?
How much more if this game, the Josh Allen factor notwithstanding, which we'll get to, this game being a noon game, let's say Josh Allen's playing at like 75%. Just noon versus if they had moved it to a Sunday night slot. How much more confident are you in Kirk Cousins and the Vikings winning this game because it's being kind of tucked away, not on national TV?
Much more confident.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Even with a half-armed Josh Allen.
Yeah. No. There is no. I mean, the noon start. If you're a Vikings fan, if your team doesn't play another primetime game for Kirk Cousins, the rest of his career here, be very pleased. It's not because he would fail for sure, but Stu Gatz is right. Like, who is better when you kick at noon? This guy is a combination of Montana, Elway, and Brady.
We need to petition once they get to that. What's the wild card weekend called now? I think they just added the word super.
Super wild
So
card
it's just
weekend.
super wild card weekend is what it's called now. Instead of having 3 games staggered, could we tuck the Vikings playoff game up against whatever the other game is that starts at noon so that it's kind of just tucked away there? Coming up next.
Yep.
Regional coverage only.
In a game that will only be seen in the Minneapolis-St. Paul market, and also the team the Vikings are playing. In a game that will be ignored by millions.
In the Tampa Bay area. Or I guess maybe the Atlanta.
You know what the most important thing is? The most important thing, and this petition has to start right now, the Super Bowl, a throwback, we need that puppy at noon as well. I know, I'm sorry. But
why do you want that game at noon?
The Super Bowl, because when the Vikings are there, I'm very concerned that Kirk has to...
No, but it's a standalone national TV game. That's different. That's a different animal.
Okay, but if nothing else, just start it at noon. I want a lot of daylight for that game for Kirk. We've moved the Super Bowl, so it'll be daylight the entire game.
The latest on Josh Allen here, according to, let's see, what's the most recent? There's an ESPN one from a day ago.
Ian Rappaport this morning.
Okay.
Was on NFL Network.
So he's avoided major elbow injury, but he's questionable.
Correct.
Is that the latest?
He's up in the air to play. He has a sprained elbow. Sources say it's a UCL injury that will limit him this week. While it's no sure thing Allen plays this week, the belief is it's an injury he can manage moving forward, but how he responds this week is key.
Okay. So he's playing, right?
No.
I think it's 50-50. I think it's tops.
I don't think he plays because...
Really?
Well, because... So Rap Sheet is being fed information directly from the Bills, and the Bills are trying to shape this up, right? Like, what's the best way? Rap Sheet basically said he could miss a game. So he could miss a game. Look, we've lost Declan. Hey, it's Kat. Hey, Carl. Great efforts of late. You guys are playing so well.
Yeah. So why do we still have the Carl Anthony Towns avatar on the?
I don't know. I kind of like being Kat. You know, I just kind of disappear and then I just show up on the screen. You know, it's just
You
kinda what I
disappear
do.
for periods.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be D'Lo now. You could be Ant. Just throw up anyone from that Knicks game.
Judd should really work on that body. Now, you know, you guys always joke about Judd's Olivia thing. I don't find it that funny. You know, it's just Chick-fil-A. And
Yeah.
We should, if we're gonna put a Carl Anthony Towns photo up for the avatar when your camera goes out, we should have the palms up, like complaining at the officials, like, "Whoa, what do you mean?"
I just like how how his camera occasionally just goes out.
It's like a 4-year-old GoPro that we used to stream when we did 7 hours of live radio or 8, whatever it was. We would just have that thing running hot all day, capturing everything in the studio. And so for 2 years, it was just on all the time. Now it's just we just need to get a new camera.
It's tired. It's very, very tired. So anyway,
anyhow.
So I think that to get back to the subject at hand, Josh Allen doesn't play on Sunday. Because if you think about it, Rappaport was setting us up for he might miss a game. Well, it's a cross-conference game. It's an important game, but again, it's not in the conference. The other thing is, do you really want to risk it for this game? Because if you risk it and something goes wrong and he doesn't get a little bit of rest, now he might be out for a month or more. So I think this is absolutely because of the opponent. It's not like the Bills can't win. I think this is absolutely a game that we are being set up by the pundits, the people who talk to the people that run the teams, for Josh Allen to sit this game and probably try to come back the next one.
Yeah, so they've already had their bye week. Here's the thing, though. I get what you're saying that this game doesn't have like tiebreaker ramifications or anything. Although I guess if they ran into a common opponent, it's unlikely to have tiebreaker ramifications for them. But if you look at the AFC standings right now, so the Bills are still the 1 seed. They are tied record-wise with the Chiefs at 6-2, but they have a tiebreaker based on did they beat the Chiefs in a game? Yeah, head-to-head. I can't remember. Did they play each other and the Chiefs won maybe earlier, or the Bills won?
The Bills won.
Okay.
Bills won.
Yeah, that was back in
a couple weeks ago.
Like 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So, so they're 6-2. The 7 seed right now is 5-3, a game back, the Chargers. And then you've got 5-4 New England, 5-4 Bengals, and everyone else is further behind by a couple games. So you have 9 teams right now within basically a game and a half of the 1 seed in the AFC.
Yep.
So, yes, on one hand, you want Josh Allen to be strong for December and a run at some point. On the other hand, there's no guarantee that if you sit him for a week or two and you lose because you're playing a 7-1 Vikings team, you're going to run your backup quarterback out there. I don't know. I think it might be more than 50-50 if they can get him playing 75%. The problem is they don't have a great run game. They're very dependent on him just lighting it up and making big plays. So I don't know that we know what it looks like. If Case Keenum comes in, are they going to major advantage Vikings from multiple perspectives? But I want Josh Allen to play, and I want him to play close to 100% because selfishly, I want to find out where the Vikings are at. If he doesn't play this game, not that this game means nothing, but like this game means a lot less in terms of a measuring stick. And if he does play, but he's only like 60 or 70% because he's got a partially torn elbow ligament, again, how much do you, I guess, has the ship sailed on finding anything out about the Vikings because of the status of Josh Allen now?
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, this is still going to be a tough road test. And again, what's weird about this whole thing is it fits into one of these weird years where if he doesn't start, this will be the 4th time in 6 games the Vikings get a backup QB. And as they say, Phil, you can only beat the opponent you're provided with. So as a fan, I'm with you completely. I want Allen to play. I want him to play at full strength. I want to find out. And plus, it's just more fun. I mean, he's a great player. So it's far more fun. So from a fan perspective, I am in lockstep with what you are saying. But from just trying to think it through, so the Bills play back-to-back home games now, Vikings and Browns. And I understand that the conference is tight. But nonetheless, if you think there's any chance that you're going to make things worse, or I guess conversely, if you think that there's a chance by allowing Allen to rest for a week, it's going to help him, I think there's got to be a strong discussion and a strong sense of it. Just like, unless the Bills think, oh my God, we could fall out of this thing. But I think the fear there is if they play Allen and he can make it worse. So I just think that there's a lot of reasons from a football common sense standpoint, from the team standpoint, to sit him. But just to be very clear, I would love to see him play at full strength because, yes, it does get hard to decide exactly what you think. Buffalo on the road, though, even with Case Keenum starting, is still going to be a pretty interesting test, I think.
Keep in mind, I think it was the 2019 Chiefs that, Pat Mahomes, I think, had was it a toe injury? He had a minor injury, but enough to keep him out for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they had to roll with Matt Moore. And coincidentally, the Vikings went into Arrowhead and lost to that Matt Moore Chiefs team in 2019. So I think the Bills would probably be wise to rest him at this point. I know the AFC is a lot more top heavy, if you will, than the NFC is. But I just, if I'm a Bills fan and I'm looking at this game and knowing that, all right, there's a UCL injury here. We're 6-2, so we have some house money to play with. We're playing against a non-conference team. Let's roll with Case Keenum. Our roster's still pretty good enough. We could probably still potentially win this game. From a Bills perspective, I would sit Josh Allen. From a Vikings fan's perspective, I'm with Phil that I want to see the Vikings beat the best quarterback, even if he's only 65 to 70%, because I want to see how good this team is.
But then there's another segment of fans, and we actually heard from a couple of them just talking to people at the Surly Purple Daily viewing party at First Round on Sunday, that are just looking for the easiest possible path to whether it's like, how can you finagle it so that you play the worst possible 7 seed in the first round or whatever.
Yep.
I have heard from a lot of Vikings fans that actually, if Case Keenum's going to start, it gives you a much better chance to win this game and thus keep pace with the Eagles, who you're only a game plus a tiebreaker back from. So I can see it from that perspective too, but at some point you need a test. And maybe Dallas provides that test on the other side of this week. So you got Buffalo and then you got Dallas at home, largely at full strength. New England and Bill Belichick and that defense will provide a test. And maybe the Jets, who at the beginning of the year look like, that's just a game you're going to win. Maybe you do have more tests on the horizon, but those are all home games. As far as road tests, and that Commanders game was more of a road test than people gave it credit for, and you passed it. But your only remaining road tests now are this game against maybe a backup quarterback in Buffalo, and then a month later you play your next road game at Detroit, which I'm not guaranteeing victory or anything, but that's not like a playoff caliber road test, right?
Right.
And then the last 2 games of the year at Green Bay, which who knows what that game's going to be. Jordan Love might be starting by the time Week 17 rolls around. And then at Chicago. So, yeah, on one hand, rack up as many wins as you can and playing backup quarterbacks. Great. That will help you win games. On the other hand, I don't want them to go like 2 or 3 months between hard road games or punch you in the mouth road games where you might be down by 13 in the second half going into the playoffs. That's kind of where I'm at with this.
Now, they will say all of these games on the road, Phil Mackey, are very, very tough tests. You don't know what you're talking about. Road games are difficult.
Yeah.
Every
There's a
team
little
is
bit of
great.
a difference than at Detroit versus at San Francisco or, at Philadelphia or something.
Now, the one thing, though, is, and I get your point, but the one thing that's very interesting about this, and it's why you have to pounce on years like this and take advantage, and the TJ Hawkinson trade does that, which I really like. Is there's just years that go like this, though. Like, there are years like the last 2 that are just miserable experiences to watch, and they're not fun, and the team is joyless, and they don't get breaks, but they don't create breaks, right? And then there's years like this where you sort of create breaks and you play pretty smart games, but you also get them, and quarterbacks get hurt, and situations. I mean, the Vikings had their safety picked on a touchdown by an official and didn't lose. Last year, there ain't no way that they come back from that. Yeah. So I think the counter, like just from a big picture standpoint, is this just continues this weird trend of every time the Vikings are about to face a team, like 2 weeks before that, it's so-and-so is suddenly dealing with an elbow problem or a shoulder problem. But it's why I do think that the Vikings, despite the fact I didn't think that they were at this stage yet, are definitely being given an opportunity that you can for sure not guarantee, just from a break standpoint, you're going to get in 2023.
Another thing on this, I've got a Case Keenum thought to run by you guys, but this speculation about who the Vikings may or may not play at quarterback, presented by our friends at Livia, helping listeners of SKOR North, Purple Daily, lose a lot of weight over the past year and change, Judd.
That's right, Phil. I am down. In fact, in the last year and change, I am down 40 pounds. The most important thing is, as you can see by the face here, I'm keeping it off. That's the most important thing. Dawn's lost weight. Chris Ron from our sales staff joined. He's lost weight. And as Phil can attest, we had people coming up at the Purple Daily party on Sunday saying, I've lost weight. And we looked at them and we're like, you look fantastic. That's great. So if you are trying to drop weight, I know it's getting cold. Winter is just about here. But from the standpoint of don't sit on your couch, gain weight, and say, oh my gosh, start right now. And if you do, the first 8 weeks, they are free. That's right. First 8 weeks are free. And with their new Flex program, you can enjoy fruit, pasta, and even bread. The best part, too, is this is not a diet. It's not a short-term solution. It's not a crash diet. You don't have to buy a ton of like microwave food. It is made much simpler than that, and it's a lifestyle change that you're going to be able to carry with you even after you've lost the weight. Livea.com, 855-GO LIVEA. Livea.com is where your success story starts, and join the Purple Daily family members who have experienced weight loss because of the fine folks at Livea, Livea.com.
To what extent would you guys, I don't know if fear is the right word, but be worried about Case Keenum if he starts in this game? So he's only started 2 games since 2019. So after the magical 2017 season, he signed a 2-year contract with Denver, and it started very well. They won their first couple games. He threw 3 touchdowns in the first game. Well, he also threw 3 picks in that game, it looks like. But then he kind of just went back to being backup caliber Case Keenum. Wound up in Washington the next year. They lost pretty much every game that he started. He started like half the games. And then he went back to being a backup in Cleveland when Kevin Stefanski took over. He started 2 games with Cleveland, both in 2021 last year. They won those games 17-14 and 21-16 over the Broncos and the Bengals. But now he's back with, you gave him a really nice car to drive in 2017, right? You gave him prime Stephon Diggs, prime Adam Thielen, prime Kyle Rudolph. Is that Dalvin Cook's rookie season as well, 2017?
Yeah.
So he played for part of the season. So you gave him some nice weapons and a good offensive structure, and he drove the hell out of that car. Mm-hmm. He has not started a game. He's barely even played in a game for Buffalo. He's gotten into 2 games. He's thrown 7 passes. So he hasn't really driven this car yet. But are you worried about, he's got Diggs again. He's got this high-octane offensive structure, and it's he's got Bills infrastructure here. Would we see the 2017 version of Case lighting it up and avoiding sacks and all those things? Or are you happy to see Case Keenum because for the majority of his career, he's just been kind of a gunslinging backup that makes a bunch of mistakes?
The latter. Now, it would be a great story. I mean, Diggs and Keenum again against the Vikings, who were off to a great start and playing fantastic, or they're playing good. And, Buffalo now is led by the guy that essentially led or helped lead the Vikings to the NFC Championship game the last time that the Vikings were good. Great storylines. But look, Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League, and he has a skill set that is a pain in the ass to deal with. When he is healthy, he is a bear to try and stop. Keenum's magical year was great. It was great fun. But I mean, Phil, at the time we called it, we said this is a Cinderella story, and he's going to have to turn the slipper in. And unfortunately, he had to give it back before the game against Philadelphia, and the Vikings got drubbed there, and he certainly didn't play great. So if this was the same Vikings type, like if Zimmer was still here and they were playing well and it was a lot of the same people, perhaps, but this is a very different team. It's a very different team. And so if I'm the Vikings, solely if I am the Vikings, I am not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the Bills, but I am not concerned that, oh my God, Case Keenum is going to find 2017 lightning in a bottle. That's basically long gone now. Not saying I wouldn't prepare very hard for him, but I am saying I would take Case over Josh any day of the week, with a very slight chance that Case can rekindle the magic he found in 2017.
I wouldn't be scared of him, but I will say Case is probably one of the more capable backups that can step in a game and run an offense and doesn't completely derail things. Look at Jacoby Brissett with the Cleveland Browns right now. Obviously, they thought Deshaun Watson was going to be their starter. He gets suspended, and all of a sudden, Kevin Stefanski has cooked up enough stew that Jacoby Brissett's been passable for them. Keenum has had success of being a starter before. I think the Vikings should be fine. I wonder what the line looks like if it's officially named as Case Keenum as the starter. Does this turn into a pick'em game? Does this give just still 3 to 5 points on the Bills with it being in Buffalo? But in general, it's Case Keenum, and the Vikings probably should be in much better suited to win the game. But I don't think you can sleep on Case. I don't think you can just write him off as just because he's the old gunslinger. He's only started a few games in the last few years that you're going to get a complete gimme of a win. Because I think Keenum can step in and run an offense for the most part.
I think the Vikings worry me the most of all the factors in this game. That if does the offense just stall out again because the Bills have a really good defense. Like, everyone talks about the Bills' offense as being the big play offense, which it is, but they've also had one of the best defenses in the league for the last couple of years. So this could be yet another game where maybe the Vikings score on the scripted plays and then disappear for an hour and they allow a backup quarterback to stay in it. On the flip side, if Josh Allen does start, a couple things to note this season, and it's been like this has been a thing for his career too, as explosive as he is and as much as he can bail a team out and make ridiculous throws and stuff. He has 15 total interceptions and fumbles through the first 8 games, and he leads all quarterbacks with 17 turnover-worthy plays, according to Pro Football Focus. So a little reckless.
I'm sorry, what's that again?
Little careless.
That phrase?
That is a turnover-worthy play.
Bum,
Turn the ball over now. Turn the ball over now. Give me the football now. It's our ball.
There goes Hicks. Touchdown. Okay, I digress.
There goes Hicks touchdown. What was
Yeah.
that? Were you calling the end of the interception?
I was calling
play
yeah. You
Oh,
said.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stop the music on you. Here, go ahead.
Oh, it's fine. You know what? It didn't work.
Yeah, it's kind of over. Yeah. No.
Yeah, the moment's over.
Yep.
The moment's over. This is like where the gal does something special and she's made a, candlelight dinner and she's, whining and dining you in hopes of something and you get home and just start to complain. You're like, what's that on the table? Moment's over.
Speaking of moments, I will say this real quick. Declan told his proposal story on Purple Daily, like the full proposal story last week. We were all at dinner last night, hanging out with our guy Royce, Chip Scoggins, Doogie, Chris Long from Channel. It was a fun gathering over at one of our favorite places last night. And Declan told the story to those guys, but he omitted something in the version to us that he told those guys. That when Declan got down on a knee as the gal was kind of up a few steps, he says, "Turn around."
Yep. Turn around. And then he was wearing.
And then she goes, "What are you doing?"
What are you doing? It wasn't even oh my God, what are you doing? It was, what are you doing?
Turn around.
Yeah, turn
And
around.
she did, and he was wearing a ski mask.
Yeah, exactly. The wet bandit.
Give me your purse.
He's wearing a ski mask and tube socks and nothing else. What are you doing? Oh my God.
What are you doing?
I thought that was an important detail from last week.
I still want to know one thing, though. Do you need to remain on your knee until she slips the ring on her finger? Because Declan thinks that, and I don't know. I
think so. Because
I
what are you
sincerely
going
don't know.
to stand up and you're still just holding the ring?
And then you stand up and then you put it on.
No,
the
she
finger?
takes No, I thought she just takes the ring and then you can stand up and then she slips it on. But I don't know. I'm not debating
Is
this.
she going to hold the ring for like 5
Yeah,
minutes?
what is
and
my precious? Is
No.
this like Lord of the Rings?
No, I would just say, here, I'll do it.
Oh my God.
I would just say, Dawn, will you marry me? And then I give her the ring. She takes it because, you got to get up. And then I'm up.
I don't think you
that's
need to
it.
rush it in that
Yeah.
situation.
Also, you were a lot younger, so you can get up and get out, a lot easier. No
We didn't
offense to
really.
your
Our
knees.
engagement really wasn't like that, though, so it doesn't really matter. She picked out her ring. I took her.
That's
to,
fine
That's
too.
normal. I don't think. By the way, I don't think that's totally weird. I think
she
that's
picked out
actually
her ring.
completely
Yeah, I was young.
Because you
I
don't
was
want
very
the
young.
problem is you don't
Yeah,
want to
guys.
you don't want to buy a ring and then
Yeah.
and then you spend however much money and then she hates it. Now you have to like go back and return it or whatever. Just
Do you act like you like the ring? If you get a ring that you hate,
or whoever.
yeah. Do you act like you like the ring, or would you say, oh yeah, yes, honey, I love you. This ring sucks.
Yeah, this is why you go ring shopping together
shopping.
for sure.
No,
Just
I know.
to
Well,
avoid
I did.
All
I'm
of
just
that
asking.
awkwardness.
I get a lot of questions about this. It's 2022. We got a new age of kids now. They're much more open-minded. I'm curious.
Well, maybe we can start a new podcast where we just ask all the questions about engagements and get people's engagement.
I don't really want.
stories.
I just want answers quick. There goes Hicks down the sideline right now. Buffalo's in trouble. Buffalo's in trouble. The Bills are going to lose the game.
It's a write that down and karaoke Wednesday here on Mackie and Judd, where we make predictions and hold each other accountable. So stick around for that.